Let's talk about something nobody prepared you for. You reach your 30s believing life will finally feel stable. You think the confusion will fade. You think the anxiety will disappear. You think the money problems will make sense. But instead, something strange happens. You start earning more than you ever did before, yet somehow you feel poorer than expected. You're busier than ever, yet you don't feel productive. You're surrounded by people, yet you feel alone in your thoughts. And quietly, a dangerous question starts repeating in your head. Did I mess up my life already? This is the truth about building wealth in your 30s that nobody warns you about. Your 30s are not about getting rich. They are about realizing how expensive your mistakes were. The mistakes you made in your 20s, the time you wasted, the money you spent without thinking, the decisions you postponed because you had time. Now time feels different. In your 30s, money becomes emotional. Every expense feels heavier. Every delay feels risky. Every comparison hurts deeper. And here's the first truth nobody tells you. Wealth does not start with growth. It starts with repair. Most people enter their 30s financially damaged. Debt, lifestyle inflation, bad habits, no systems, no clarity. But instead of fixing the foundation, they chase shortcuts. They invest without discipline. They copy trends they don't understand. They look for fast wins because deep down, they're scared they're already late. Social media makes this fear worse. Every scroll shows someone younger than you winning. Luxury cars, business class flights, passive income claims, early retirement fantasies. What you don't see is the leverage, the debt, the pressure, the stress hiding behind the camera. Real wealth is boring. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg for attention. And that leads to the second brutal truth. Most people who look rich in their 30s are not wealthy. They're exposed. They're one emergency away from collapse, one bad month away from panic, one mistake away from starting over. But they can't stop spending because their identity is tied to appearance. Your 30s force you to choose. Look successful now or become secure later. And this choice hurts because choosing security means becoming invisible for a while. Here's another thing nobody warned you about. Earning more money will not automatically fix your life. You were told that once your income increases, everything else will fall into place. So you chased promotions. You worked longer hours. You accepted more responsibility. And yes, the paycheck improved. But somehow, the stress increased. The savings didn't grow. The pressure followed you home. Because lifestyle inflation is silent. It doesn't feel reckless. It feels deserved. A slightly better apartment, a nicer car, more eating out, more convenience. Until one day you realize your higher income didn't buy freedom. It bought comfort with handcuffs. Wealth is not about how much you make. It's about how much control you have, and control requires discipline. Which brings us to another uncomfortable truth. Your 30s will force you to become boring if you want to build wealth. No one celebrates discipline. No one claps for consistency. No one praises delayed gratification. You will feel left out. You will skip things. You will say no more than yes. And people won't understand. They'll say you're too serious, too focused, too obsessed with money. But what they don't see is that discipline is temporary, regret is permanent. Another truth nobody tells you. Your biggest asset in your 30s is not money, it's skill. If your skills are outdated, your income is fragile. If you stop learning, you stop growing. Your degree won't save you. Your past success won't save you. Your potential won't save you. Only relevance does. Your 30s are the decade where skills compound or decay. Small improvements made now create massive gaps later. 5 years of focused growth can change your entire financial trajectory. 5 years of stagnation can trap you permanently. And here's the emotional part no one prepares you for. Building wealth in your 30s is lonely. You will outgrow people. You will think differently. You will move at a different pace. Some friendships will fade. Some conversations will feel empty. Some rooms will feel too small. Not because you're better, but because your priorities changed. And that hurts. Because humans want belonging. And discipline often isolates before it rewards. Another truth: you cannot save your way to wealth, but you also cannot build wealth without saving. Your 30s are about balance, saving aggressively while increasing your earning power, investing patiently without gambling your future, avoiding desperation because desperation destroys judgment. Your 30s punish impatience and reward consistency. This is the decade where excuses expire. You can no longer blame age. You can no longer blame ignorance. You can no longer blame time. And here's something powerful. Your 30s are not late. They are decisive. Most real wealth is built after 40, but only by those who prepared earlier. What looks like luck later is discipline practiced quietly now. And finally, the truth nobody warns you about. Money will not fix your identity. If you don't know who you are, wealth will only amplify the confusion. If you don't know why you want money, you'll never feel satisfied, no matter how much you earn. Your 30s strip away illusions. They expose your habits. They challenge your beliefs. They force you to grow up emotionally, not just financially. That's why this decade feels heavy, because it's not meant to be comfortable, it's meant to shape you. So if you feel behind, overwhelmed, or uncertain, you are not failing. You are in the hardest phase of the build. Slow, quiet, uncelebrated, but necessary. And one day, without warning, you'll look back and realize this pressure was the price of becoming free. At some point in your 30s, something shifts. You stop dreaming the way you used to. Not because you gave up, but because life forced you to become realistic. You no longer ask, "What do I want?" You ask, "What can I actually sustain?" And this is where building wealth truly begins, not with excitement, but with honesty. Here's a truth nobody prepares you for. Your 30s will expose your financial character, not your income, not your potential, your character. How you handle boredom, how you react to slow progress, how disciplined you are when no one is watching, how patient you remain when results refuse to show up. This decade punishes fantasies and rewards structure. And one of the biggest lies you were told was this: once I start investing, everything will work out. Investing is not magic. It's not salvation. It's amplification. If you're reckless, investing magnifies losses. If you're impatient, it magnifies regret. If you're emotional, it magnifies mistakes. This is why so many people in their 30s lose money. Not because investing is risky, but because they were never prepared psychologically. Wealth is not built by jumping in early. It's built by staying in long enough. And staying requires emotional control. Another truth no one warns you about. The market doesn't care about your age, your stress, or your timeline. You don't get rewarded for being late. You don't get punished for being slow. You get exactly what your behavior deserves. This is why desperation is dangerous. People in their mid to late 30s often feel rushed. They feel the clock ticking louder. They feel pressure to catch up, and that pressure leads to bad decisions. Overtrading, risky investments, blind trust in influencers, chasing returns instead of building systems. The irony is painful. The harder you try to rush wealth, the longer it takes to arrive. Another uncomfortable reality. You will make mistakes in your 30s, expensive ones, bad investments, wrong partnerships, missed opportunities, and that's normal. What matters is not avoiding mistakes. What matters is surviving them. Wealth is not about perfect decisions. It's about recoverability. Can you absorb a loss and keep going? Can you learn without quitting? Can you adjust without panicking? Most people don't fail because they're wrong once. They fail because one mistake breaks them emotionally. Your 30s demand resilience. They demand that you stop tying your self-worth to short-term outcomes. And here's a truth very few people talk about. Your environment matters more than your motivation. You cannot build wealth surrounded by constant consumption. You cannot stay disciplined in a culture addicted to spending. You cannot think long-term while drowning in short-term noise. Your 30s are when you must intentionally design your life. Who you listen to, what you consume, where your time goes, what conversations you allow. Because focus is fragile and distraction is expensive. Another thing nobody warned you about. Wealth building requires saying no to good opportunities to protect great ones. Not every opportunity deserves your attention. Not every side hustle is worth your energy. Not every investment aligns with your goals. Your 30s teach you that clarity is more powerful than options. When everything feels urgent, nothing moves forward. This is also the decade where patience becomes a weapon. Compounding finally starts becoming visible, but only if you didn't quit earlier. Tiny investments made years ago begin to show quiet progress. Small habits start paying dividends. Skills begin turning into leverage. Reputation begins opening doors. And suddenly you realize nothing changed overnight, but everything changed eventually. Another truth that hits hard. Wealth does not remove fear. It changes it. You don't stop worrying. You worry about different things. You worry about preservation instead of survival. You worry about responsibility instead of scarcity. This is why emotional maturity is critical. Money without emotional control creates anxiety, not peace. And here's something most people discover too late. Freedom is not a number. It's a feeling. It's waking up without panic. It's making decisions without desperation. It's knowing one mistake won't ruin you. And that kind of freedom comes from years of boring consistency. Your 30s are where that consistency is built. This decade will humble you. It will force you to accept that you are not special, but you are capable. It will remind you that progress is quiet and success is often lonely before it's admired. And one day, something unexpected happens. You stop comparing. You stop rushing, you stop needing validation, you start trusting your process. That's when wealth truly begins to feel real, not because of numbers, but because of stability. And finally, the last truth nobody warns you about. Your 30s are not about arriving. They are about aligning. Aligning your money with your values, aligning your work with your strengths, aligning your lifestyle with your long-term vision. This decade is the bridge between who you were and who you'll become. And bridges are not destinations. They are uncomfortable, unstable, and necessary. So if your 30s feel heavy, uncertain, and slow, that's not failure. That's construction. You are laying foundations that most people never commit to. And one day, quietly, the weight lifts. Not because life became easy, but because you became prepared. That's the truth about building wealth in your 30s. No shortcuts, no guarantees. Just discipline, patience, and resilience. Compounding over time. And for those who endure it, the reward isn't just money, it's peace.